my lovely dears, welcome to this new Italian tutorial. This tutorial will be about another tense that we have in Italian, the future. And so, in this video I will show how you make the future tense in Italian and how you use it, because the future tense is used, of course, mostly to talk about what you will be doing in the future, but it can also have another couple of uses that I will talk about. Let's start with seeing how you make the future tense in Italian. So you pick, as always, the root of your verb, and as always I will also link the video in which I explain how to retrieve the root of a verb. So in the description I will link this video in the description. But anyway, so you pick the root of the verb, and then what you add is actually more or less the same for the three conjugation. So the desinence that you add is the same for all the three conjugations. What changes is only the first vowel of this desinence. It's like in the imperfecto, but as you will see in the future, the first and the second conjugation are actually the same. So what you add is exactly the same. The first vowel of the desinence changes only for the third conjugation. What also stays the same for all the three conjugations is how the stress goes, because you will see that the stress goes very much towards the end of the verb. So let's start with the first conjugation, and let's use the verb ballare, which in Italian means to dance. So for the first person, what you add is ero. So you have your root ball, are of course goes away, so you have your root ball, and what you add is ero. So I will dance becomes io ballerò. For the second person, singular, what you add is erai. You will dance becomes tu ballerai. For the third person, what you add is era. He or she will dance becomes egli or ella ballerà. For the first person plural, what you add is eremo. So we will dance becomes noi balleremo. For the second person plural, what you add is erete, and so you plural will dance becomes voi ballerete. For the third person plural, what you add is eranno. So they will dance becomes essi or esse balleranno. So as you can see, the stress goes very much towards the end of the verb, as I said, and as you may have noticed from the subtitles, from the captions, for the first and the third person singular, you have to write the stress, because in Italian, when the stress is on the last vowel, so at the very end of the word, you have to write it. So usually you don't write the stress in Italian, but when it's on the last vowel, so at the very end of the word, then you have to write it. So if you write a verb in the future, remember to write also the stress for the first and the third person singular. So now let's go to the second conjugation, and as I said, what you add is exactly the same as you add also in the first conjugation. So first and second conjugation have exactly the same desinence for every person. For the second conjugation, let's use the verb leggere. The first person singular becomes io leggerò. So you have your root legger goes ere goes away, so you have your root leg, and you add ero as in the first conjugation, as for the first conjugation. So I will read becomes io leggerò. You will read is tu leggerai. So also in this case, for the second person singular, what you add is erai. For the third person singular, what you add again is era, like in the first conjugation. And so he or she will read becomes egli or ella leggerà. Noi leggeremo is the first person plural. So we will read becomes noi leggeremo. So again, for the first person plural, what you add is eremo. Now for the second person plural, again you add erete, like you do for the first conjugation. And so you will read becomes voi leggerete. Then for the third person plural, you add eranno, again like in the first conjugation. They will read becomes essi or esse leggeranno. Now, going to the third conjugation, as I said, the desinence for every person is the same, but only the first vowel changes. So the e becomes i. So let's use uscire, so to go out, for the third conjugation. So I will go out becomes io uscirò. So you have uscire, ire goes away, you have ush as your root. And so you add iro for the first person singular. So again, I will go out becomes io uscirò. For the second person singular, what you add is irai. So you will go out becomes tu uscirai. For the third person singular, you add ira. He or she will go out becomes egli or ella uscirà. For the first person plural, you add iremo. We will go out becomes noi usciremo. For the second person plural, you add irete. So you will go out becomes voi uscirete. Then lastly, for the third person plural, you add iranno. So they will go out becomes essi or esse usciranno. So as you can see here, also the pattern of the stress doesn't change. So again, it goes very much towards the end of the verb. And for the first and the third person singular, you have to write it down because it's on the very last vowel at the very end of the verb. So as you see, nothing changes, even if the first vowel of the desinence changes. Also, something else that is important to notice here is that actually what I've just conjugated was a verb that is irregular when you conjugate it in the present. But as you can see, in the future, uscire is perfectly regular. So as I said also in other videos, as in the video about the imperfecto, the fact that a verb is irregular in the present doesn't mean that it's irregular also in the other tenses. So uscire is irregular in the present, but it becomes perfectly regular in the future. Because as I mentioned also in the other videos, what makes a verb irregular is that the root is not what you expect. So when the root is not what you expect from the infinito, so what when it is different from l'infinito, then a verb is irregular. But the fact that the root changes in the present or in the imperfecto or in the future doesn't mean that it changes also in the other tenses. Now also a last thing, you have some verbs like mangiare, so that have this e. Now when you do the future, so when you conjugate it in the future, the e goes away. So mangiare in the future becomes io mangerò. So as you can see, the e is not there. And then it goes tu mangerai, egli mangerà, noi mangeremo, voi mangerete e si mangeranno. So as you can see, the e is not there. It just goes away. And also with the verbs that have a c or a g. And yeah, mostly for the verbs in are, like giocare. So when you have the infinito, giocare, so to play, you have the sound k, because you have the a, the after it. Now when you're going to make the future, what happens if you just leave it as it is? So if you pick gioc and then you add ero, erai, erai, that it becomes giocerò if you leave it like that, because you have the a after it. So it becomes the other sound. It acquires the other sound. Now to avoid that, there is a solution, and there is to add the h. So when you have verbs like giocare, then in the future you have also to add the h when you write it. So I mean, it just has the purpose to keep the sound that you have in the infinito. So actually, if you speak, you don't have to do anything, nothing changes. Just when you write, you have to remember to add the h all the way through the conjugation of the future. So for all the persons. Otherwise, you have the sound ch. So you have another sound different from the infinito. And it's the same for the verbs that have gare, so with a g. So ch e g, chi e g, you have to remember to add also the h when you conjugate in the future. So yeah, that's mostly on how you make the future tense in Italian. Now, how do you use it? As I said, the future, of course, you use it to talk about what you will be doing in the future. And yeah, something important is that it's not like in English, because in English you can make the future in more ways, depending if it's something planned, if it's something that you wish to do, something that you're going to do. In Italian, you just use this. You just have one future tense to talk about what you're going to do in the future, no matter if it's planned or not, or whatever. Yeah, maybe sometimes you can use, mostly in in spoken language, you use the present also to talk about what you will be doing in the future, but it's common also to other languages, so to use the present instead of the future. But if you want to use a proper future tense to talk about the future, you of course use this tense that I just showed. So the tense that I'm showing in this video. But the future can also be used for a couple of other things. So the first thing is if you make a supposition. For example, if I want to say that house must have costed a lot, I say quella casa sarà costata parecchio. Another use of the future is when you wonder something. So when you ask yourself something. So for example, if I want to say I wonder, will the supermarket still be open? So is the supermarket still open? What I can say is mi chiedo, il supermercato sarà ancora aperto? Or yeah, I say directly, il supermercato sarà ancora aperto? So also in this case I'm using the future. For this video, that's all. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumb up. And as always, feel free to post any comment or any question or to request any topic. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you like my videos. And thanks for watching. See you next tutorial. Ciao ciao!